Hello my friends, today we are talking about the Peter McKinnon Variable ND Mist Edition. So if you saw my last video, you know that I did the Cine Bloom and the ProMist together. I decided not to put Peter's filter in there where it was an ND filter, so I've done a whole bunch of stuff just with the ND by itself. However, I did see some people like in comments and talking about Polar Pro or to Polar Pro asking about a comparison to the ProMist. So I did include a couple at the end of the ProMist and kind of some stacking with ND just to see what it looks like. So this is kind of my first look. I put the filter through some different situations, good lighting situations, bad lighting situations, outside, inside. So I'm gonna try to keep my talking short so that the pictures can speak for themselves. So check it out and let me know what you think about it in the comments. I've also included one image of the original Peter McKinnon ND against this one just because the color cast is completely different, just so people can see what it looks like. All right, check it out.
I'm sitting right here to see us asleep. Can you make it up here and set my mind at ease? I'm on top of the roof, you've been here before. I just miss you a lot, and I know that I got to let you know. Somebody said you are the last one of your kind.
Okay, so that was actually the first time I ever put the filter on my camera. I had actually just shown up to a photo shoot that my mother was doing of this couple that she knows, and I was like, hey, I'll just do some behind the scenes with this filter while she's shooting. I think it looks pretty cool, so that's kind of just your very first look at what it looks like, and of course it looks great with the colors in the fall and everything like that, so that's pretty awesome. So next I'm actually going to show you the next stuff I shot of some comparisons with it on and off in the same exact shot. First, I started with some shade, but the background is pretty blown out. So I kind of wanted to see what's it gonna look like when I'm exposed properly. How's it gonna deal with the fact that my background is bright, which is obviously not ideal. So that's what we're looking at here. You can see that it is a little bit blue. Next, this is just with no ND with the same bright background. Also, we are exposed properly. I actually think this looks really good. We're kind of in the shade between two buildings here. And yeah, the background's blown out. I don't really think it distracts that much from the image, but I don't know, do you think it looks better? Do you think it looks more cinematic with the filter on? Do you need it for the exposure? Here we're in like the worst case scenario, right? So the ND is on, we have a kind of very well lit background, and you'll see as she walks, the foreground is completely bleached out in sun and she's sort of in the shade, but she's actually exposed pretty well right here until she kind of comes through that spotty light. So this is a pretty terrible situation. I think the filter handles it pretty well. So then we took the filter off. So this kind of shows you, this is like the situation where you really need ND for people that don't maybe know how to use it. You've lost all the color in the sky, the building is washed out, and now that she's come into the light, she's completely washed out. When she was in the shade, she was actually exposed pretty well. So the ND kind of gives you a middle ground for both the sunlight and the darkness. And of course you could move it. You know, I just left it on 2 stops. You could change it, it is variable. I love this location. So this is mostly a shady background. There's a little bit of light there, but this is a really nice lighting situation that we're in. Again, we're between buildings in the shade. This is really like 2 o'clock. It's like horrible light. But we're in a good spot. I think it looks beautiful. The color cast on this came out really nice. And you'll actually see that because we are exposed nicely without the ND also looks good. I do think it just looks better. I hate to use the word cinematic, but that's what everybody's talking about with these filters. So I think this image here without the ND is beautiful. I think it looks great. It's crisp, other than the fact that my autofocus is being a bitch. But anyway, it looks good, but it does look digital. And I do really think this filter shines with the mist, just giving you more of that creamy look that I really like. Next, we've got just an example of the mist up against the original Peter McKinnon filter. So here you can see that it's quite blue, and the greens in the tree look nice. They're pretty dark. If you come over to the next one, it's like a whole different world. So this is much warmer. Obviously, you can see that the greens are a lot more yellow. You know, it doesn't really matter. It's just maybe preference. And also, if you have the first one and you want to get the second one, just know that they are not going to have the same color cast. So here is just the ProMist all by itself. Ignore my autofocus. Next, we have the ProMist stacked with variable ND. This is a, it's not Peter's ND. It's just a variable ND that I have. And last we have Peter's filter. So the Mist edition with the ND already built in. And there you have it. Let me know what you guys think. Okay, so that's pretty much it, guys. You know, it's kind of hard with the Office to like show you the difference between the ProMist and the Peter McKinnon, because although they have different qualities, stacking the ND doesn't really matter because I'm just making the exposure proper. So if I put the ND on and it's darker, I just bring the ISO up a little bit. So I mean, I guess what I'm saying is if you need ND, then you probably want to get the Peter McKinnon Mist edition if you're looking for that look, but you need ND. If you don't need ND, then yeah, the ProMist is a great option. It's kind of, I don't know. I guess if you think that you can just use the Peter McKinnon ND when you need ND, if you're in the office here where I can easily control the exposure, like I don't need ND in here, but maybe if I only want to make that one investment, I can use the ND and just adjust the ISO, if that makes sense. I definitely think they're different tools, but it's nice to see a little comparison between them. I would also say that based upon all three of these filters, the Cine Bloom, the ProMist, and the Peter McKinnon Mist, for photography, the Cine Bloom takes the cake for me across the board. The last thing to think about is that the Peter McKinnon comes in like the larger sizes. You're not gonna get those teeny weeny little ones like I have for the Tiffen for my little primes. And I don't want to use the step-up rings. It's not something I'm into. I would honestly purchase filters in multiple sizes before I would do that. Call me crazy, I'm weird, I don't know. But if you're looking for something that's economical, looks good, and you can get in different sizes, pretty inexpensive. You're talking $35, $40 for the ProMist. It's a great option. But again, if you're doing video and you need ND, this is an amazing filter. If you don't think it's worth the money, don't buy it. That's what everybody complains, like, how can they justify the price? Well, if you don't justify the price yourself, don't buy it, that's it. If you want a great product and you don't mind paying for it, buy the filter. That's what it is at the end of the day. You know it's gonna be a great filter. You know it's gonna be super awesome, and it is. Thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe if you're not already, like the video, all that crap. Check out my Instagram @queerphoto. Thanks for watching.